Welcome to the Flipcast, everybody.
Welcome.
My name's Owen. This is Ledger. If you're new here, welcome to the podcast. And if you're returning, welcome back.
We appreciate you being here.
As always, you guys are our number one supporters.
Number one flip fans.
Number one flip fans.
That's what matters.
Speaking of being a number one flip fan, if you can't tell by our apparel that we are wearing, Ledger, would you like to stand up and show the people?
Yeah, I'll show you the flip merch real quick. We got the QR code.
Follow the flip.
So we got new flip merch. We mentioned this previously, but if you're interested in our Flipcast merch, you can go on to our affiliate link, zazzle.com/flipcast. That is ZAZZLE.com/flipcast. It's also on our link tree.
And it's also, if you scan the back of Ledger's t-shirt, and anybody who buys a Flipcast t-shirt, the QR code brings you right to our link tree.
Exactly.
It's great. So we'd like to mention for those people who maybe, may know brands more than other people, the t-shirts are Gildan branded. They are printed on a heavy Gildan t-shirt. So they're screen printed, so you have to wash them inside out. But it's one of those things where they actually hold up well.
Yeah.
Unlike other t-shirts that are like, Heritage Canvas or whatever the brand is. And the hats aren't bad either.
Nope.
I have a massive head and wear an 8 fitted, which is very big. And it fits, these hats fit for me with 2 dots taken up. So
It's great.
I would like, when I buy merch from people, I normally like to hear these things.
Yeah.
Help everybody out a little bit, right?
That's great.
So good.
That's great. So that's what we want here. We want you to buy our merch. We want you to wear our hats.
Exactly.
And we want you to wear our QR code shirt.
Yes. And pretty soon we'll have more household items available for sale.
Exactly.
Pillows, mugs, dog
We'll have
toys,
it all.
pacifiers. We'll have everything.
Everything you could dream of.
Everything that you could dream to follow the flip with.
Exactly. So check it out.
Check it out.
Zazzle.com/flipcast.
Indeed. So we have one more thing to get into before we jump into the episode. Would you like me to shout it out?
Yeah, shout out.
Cameron Begley.
Cam
Begley. Mr. Garden Wall himself just released some great music. You just heard it in the beginning of this episode, and you'll hear it bookended on the end of the episode with the other song. Go check out his EP.
Yep.
Available everywhere.
Garden Wall.
Garden Wall. Our good pal Ledger here is the saxophone on the first track, Garden Wall.
Yep.
Which is going to be like the only part we play in the beginning of this episode, and we'll probably throw a section into it here.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, some great music by him. So definitely check that out. I think it's on Spotify, Apple Music. So definitely check it out and support his things. Check it out.
Absolutely.
He deserves it. He deserves a shout out. We appreciate you letting us use your music in our podcast here if you're watching this. So, yeah, thanks for letting us use it.
And we appreciate you saying that we have the voices to soothe the seasick crocodile. Because, yes,
Yeah.
Cam Begley, we soothe seasick crocodiles.
We do it every single day.
Every single episode.
We love it.
It's fantastic.
It's great.
Thank you, Cam.
Thank you, Cam.
All right. It looks like it's time to start the episode.
We are ready to hop into the Flipcast episode of this week. I don't know what number we're on.
We've had so much fun with this that
we're out of the number land. All right. So this week's episode, we are going to hop into AI in film.
Film.
So let's get right into it. AI in film. We've done a few AI episodes in the past. We've covered AI in music. What else do we do? AI in education.
Yep.
So we've done some episodes on that. We've talked a little, or a lot about all these things on how AI is impacting these certain areas of business.
Yeah.
Like the education business and the music business, it's having its effect way more than ever. And it's only growing as time goes on and the AI technology improves. And we're here to tell you all about it.
Indeed. So, AI in film. You may be asking yourself, okay, it's film. What part of it can be artificial intelligence because someone's recording the film? You're wrong. AI in film is everywhere.
Everywhere.
It's everywhere. Any film that you're watching has some form of CGI, some form of something that didn't actually happen, that the screenwriters, the directors, and everything like that planned to put into the film.
Yep.
And these AI things kind of stretch farther than the content within the movies because sometimes it's the behind the scenes of that content, how they achieve that content, and, just the multi-step process of making a film.
Exactly.
So neither of us are experts. Neither of us make movies.
No.
We, OnlyFans coming soon, but we
There we go.
only make these movies. So.
Yeah. We make funny YouTube movies.
YouTube movies.
So AI in film, we're gonna give you a little backstory here. So, artificial means of editing film has been around for a little bit now. You could think about older films like the black and white, the Charlie Chaplin, and those really preyed on illusions of a focal point where they could trick you into looking at a certain area, but it might be like farther back. So he looked like he was falling off of a building, but he wasn't actually falling off a building. It just looked like it because they had tricked you just with the focal point of the camera. Now, times have changed and things have gotten easier. They don't need to, be on the top of a city building or have a giant projection on behind them.
Yeah.
Things have gotten a little easier. And with the advent of CGI, things have changed. They've been able to edit in creatures and explosions and many of other things like vehicles and spaceships and all of that stuff into movies for years. There's many good examples out there of films even before the millennium that use extremely sophisticated CGI or just good measures of tricking your focal point. Like Star Wars is one of the very big original films that really did this well. I mean, you look at the lightsabers, they obviously weren't real. Everyone knows this, but they did such a good job with creating the light that came out from them that it looked so real and that people like wanted the lightsabers thinking they're real. And people to this day try to recreate them to make it look like the ones in the movie.
Because weren't those in the movie? They were PVC pipes that they then in post went over
Yeah.
and put like all the coloring
Yeah.
on. So that's why sometimes when you're looking at those lightsaber fights and it's like you see two of them cross, sometimes there's an inconsistency in the cross. If you've ever seen Star Wars movies, I noticed this, years ago.
Right.
Where you see them like, Mace Windu versus fucking General Grievous or whatever the dude's name was. With all the different arms or whatever.
Yeah.
When they're like going at each other, you see the green and the purple lightsabers touch. It's like, you see almost like a lapse where it's like the colors are supposed to combine. But it's just like a miss, like where they missed it.
Yeah.
So AI in film's not always perfect, but it's interesting to see the inconsistencies
Right.
make it past the post editing.
Completely agreed. I encourage all of you, if you're watching a movie, at any point in time, look for the discrepancies, look for that CGI. Anything in the movie that was not humanly done, check that out.
Yeah.
Look at it, watch it, think to yourself, oh, wow, the Owen and Ledger from the Flipcast told me about this. We're here to call that out.
Yeah.
Right?
And if you ever see those inconsistencies, tag them on your favorite social media using the hashtag #FollowTheFlip.
Follow the flip. So now, here we go. Present day, we're moving into a world of artificial intelligence, and AI's ability in film is changing things a lot more. And there's actually a lot of different areas with this. We got areas in screenwriting, and then the means of creating the movie and using characters and pieces of media. And, we're going to talk about that a little bit of how these things have been affected by AI and the pros and cons of how AI is making these things all happen.
Yeah, 100%. It's, the use of AI is only meant to amplify these things, right?
Right.
If they didn't need to have AI to make things better, it wouldn't be there. At least in the film industry, right? We talk AI everywhere else, and it's like it's used because some people don't want to do their job. A lot of the times in film, it's more just for improving
Correct.
upon things that can't be improved upon by humans.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see just the implications of it that just really amplify a film, and the director's vision can be made possible not by the people in the set but by the computers with the people.
Correct. So I mean, every great movie starts in the beginning process of writing a script, right? So now we've seen, and if any of you are in tune with news and that kind of thing, we just had a big writer's strike recently, and one of the big issues in this writer's strike was AI screenwriting, because if you're familiar with ChatGPT, we talked about ChatGPT before, but ChatGPT, the means of writing that it can do are crazy. Yeah. ChatGPT can write you a novel if you ask it to. And you can see that instead of having, someone writing a script, ChatGPT can make that happen. And given the correct directions, this is A, time saving, and B, money saving for these large film studios that would have to pay, hundreds of thousands of dollars to pay out the screenwriters. I mean, even in like TV shows and that kind of thing, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars in paying screenwriters to write these things. And AI is taking that away because it can do it by itself. So the big issue here was that, AI is stealing jobs.
Yeah.
Right. And we talked about this a little bit, I think, in some of our previous,
yeah.
the education episode, we really tapped on that, but it's taking away the job of, someone really needing to do the job, do it, make it happen. And it's crazy to me to think that with people not having these jobs at all, it's like, what's next? Like, is it going to be fully like, is there going to be no man behind the curtain? Is it just going to be the computer running off movies?
Yeah.
Have you seen, actually, this is a good point. Have you seen the like fake South Park or fake Family Guy AI videos?
Yeah.
Right? Crazy. Absolutely wild. And you look at a show like, Family Guy, Simpsons, South Park, those involve writers and who write the jokes and who write the scripts for each of those episodes, who write the storyline. These AI models, they have them running around and they've made episodes that have legitimate storylines and have legitimate characters in them and legitimate character development within the episode. Now, they're not anything out of this world. They're not like the craziest, like, well done thing. Usually the characters revolve on a still set and they're all just in the same, you've seen it. They're all just in the same room, but it's very scary in a way because it's like, wow, this computer system that, this AI, artificial intelligence computer system has the ability to take, a show like The Simpsons or Family Guy and make an episode without any human interaction.
It's crazy.
Zero.
And, a lot of that comes down to the sheer mass of just content that's out there within the Simpsons universe, the Family Guy universe. But you raise a point there. It's like the studios there can either choose to be like, okay, we're just going to let AI run the show now. We're bored, we're lazy. Or they can do what The Simpsons, I'm pretty sure it's The Simpsons, fact check me if I'm wrong. Okay. I think they actually put out an episode that was strictly produced by AI, and they animated it, and that was like humans, but the script itself was written AI.
Yeah.
And it was like all based on all that. And I know the episode did well, right? It was a marvel of technology and the advents of this and all these types of things. But it's just crazy to think, like you're saying, it's a scary reality that there's like the personalization. That was the fucking word.
Personalization of that.
Yeah.
I mean, hundreds of years. We go back 100 years ago. I mean, we're talking film. There's many areas. There's animating. There's live action. You go back 100 years ago. I mean, Walt Disney, right? He's in his garage painting things by hand. He's in his garage making these stills for these films. Mickey Mouse and all these things. Here we are, present day, right? 100 years later, and you and I or anybody can sit down on the computer and write a basic program and animate their own show. And it's crazy because you look at 100 years ago, Walt Disney, he's in his garage, and the hours that it took to hand paint all these beautiful scenes for the movies.
Yeah, like Steamboat Willie.
Exactly.
It's that type of thing.
It's crazy, and it took them hours, long days. I mean, it was crazy. In the studios, I mean, you look at like the very early like Tom and Jerry shorts. I mean, they used to play them in the theater. They'd play them in the movie theater whenever they came. Yeah, they'd play them in the movie theater because it was a big deal when they came out. And they would have whole orchestras play the music behind it.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah, and they'd have to pay millions. You can fact check me. This is a real fact. Millions of dollars just for one short.
This is for them to make it, or for people to come watch it?
To make it.
Okay.
To make the short for Tom and Jerry, for all the painting, for all the writing, for all the animation, to produce it and to get it out there was crazy.
Wow.
It was so difficult. But now, I mean, let's think about this. You get a couple of character models of Tom and Jerry. You get on a computer. I mean, you could have them running around a room as if it was another day.
That is true.
It's wild. I mean, it's not at the point where you can say, all right, I can't tell the difference between AI and real.
Yeah, true.
It's not there yet. that's when the Flipcast we do a really like we really gotta.
That's when we'll do an episode where we are AI.
Right.
And it's one of those things where it's like, the logos for all the different brands are like, they look like they're what they're supposed to be, but the writing's not there.
Yeah.
So we'll have the Follow the Flip logo, which is just, the USA and everything like that, but it'll just be like, blah, blah,
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Absolutely.
There'll be
wild.
49 states on the continent. Right?
Yeah. It'll be close,
Yeah.
but you'll have to look out for that. But yeah, it's really frightening. I mean, we're at a really big crossroads right now because things are changing and the means of the film production that have been around for years are being questioned with this new technology because one, it's a hell of a lot easier to produce these things with AI, but it's also more cost effective than, pay hundreds of thousands of dollars. But, then you get the moral question of like, this is people's livelihood.
Yeah.
People go to school to, screenwrite. It's a college degree.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where it gets scary because here's a profession, screenwriting, all these things that have existed for years. I mean, you look at any local TV station, there's screenwriters behind that. They write the news for Channel 3. They write that all out. And to think that these jobs of all these people who are in the back room writing, they're going to fade.
Yeah.
They're eventually going to fade. As much as a writer's strike can in some way prevent this from going down, eventually it's just one of these things that it's just going to become easier.
It's just bound to happen.
It's bound to happen.
It's not, the term's not mobilization, but it's almost like, the shift to efficiency
right
of just every single aspect of life.
Yeah.
Is just going to kind of start to fade these things out. And a point that I thought of while you were talking about that, the director for Avatar, my mind says James Cameron. Could be wrong. Who knows? We can fact check that.
Yeah, we might need to. It might be James Cameron.
That sounds right. I'm gonna.
He
run
did
with
the Titanic too.
I think I'm gonna run with it.
Okay.
James Cameron, guy that did Avatar, right? And if it's not him, sue me. He
might be him.
Their whole thing is CGI, right?
Oh yeah.
Everything's CGI in that film. And obviously, none of that screenwriting was AI based,
right?
And a lot of the production delay was COVID and all these other things, and and effects for the second Avatar that just came out.
Yeah.
But it's that whole idea that with AI, he's able to make this crazy film and this crazy thing that grossed super well in the box office, and people love because it's the first time that type of content has been made in that mass media setting.
Right.
And it's this idea that if people are seeing this success happening where, Michael Bay makes Transformers and it's Transformers and Fast and Furious are on that same level where it's just like loyalty and that's why people keep watching it. It's not that it's good.
Okay, yeah.
Just objectively.
Yeah.
That's just how that kind of thing is.
No, I agree.
But it's the idea that these movies like, Marvel has always used CGI and those are objectively good movies because everyone keeps coming back to see them.
Absolutely.
Appeal, right? Trends in the movie industry, right? CGI has been around forever, but at what point are we going to see that these actors, instead of having to deliver a physical performance of themselves, everyone's going to turn into a voice actor?
Exactly.
And it's like, take a screen cap of Scarlett Johansson as her character in the Marvel Universe.
Yep.
I'm blanking on what that is, Black Widow.
Yeah.
Take her as Black Widow. She just says her lines, and CGI will just,
Yeah, it's really crazy. I see that same thing. It's like, it's getting to the point where they can make characters or individuals, human beings, say whatever you want. I mean, we're not going to get into it, but deep fakes is one of those where you could make someone say whatever you want.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And that's what it can come to here is you have people who very, high list, A-list actors who have played these big roles for years, but now, I mean, they don't need you to do the demanding toll of, you think of The Rock and some of the movies he's done. I mean, they're big action movies where, there's actually a form of physical strength that's required to pull off some of the stunts in the movies. Obviously there's stunt doubles, but, there's things that need to be done. And there could be a point where you don't even need the actor there to do any of these stunts.
It's true.
Because they could just have it done and it looks real enough because AI has so many. It can run through years of footage that have already been completed and have this, if he's jumping between two airplanes, they can get this done without the need of having The Rock there and on cue and a stunt double to make some weird CGI shot happen.
Yeah. And it's even crazier to think that even if this whole AI craze doesn't wipe out the, personalization, I say, but the jobs of an actor, the jobs of a screenwriter, all these things, the second this is like mainstream industry standard, stunt doubles aren't going to have jobs anymore.
No,
that's going to be a dying trade.
It's all these positions that are going to start moving away a little bit.
Yeah,
and there's a lot. I mean, you watch the end of a movie, the credits, they scroll for hours. But I mean, those are all positions of the names of the people who took part in the movie. But eventually, you're going to see many of those disappear because they're not going to be needed. AI is going to, take the role of the assistant producer or something like that. All these people who have, because it's going to be able to run the checks that have, the job of the producer that would have, been needed beforehand. All the checks and everything that need to be done, AI will be able to complete those tasks.
Yeah, and it's another side of it too is like the physical appearance of people I keep talking about, just because of deep fake technology and those things, which again we're not going to get into. But it's the idea of like the hair and makeup team and the like costume team.
Oh yeah,
all these like talent divisions that make sure people look how they're supposed to.
Yep.
You see it now too, where it's like movies of like an alien, right? That's obviously going to be a real person running around in a green suit that they then put an overlay on. Right? The technology will get so good that let's say I'm in a movie and I'm like, I don't know, I'm wearing eyeshadow or something like that. And I personally, I just don't wear eyeshadow when I'm recording, right? It's a very basic thing, but they can put an overlay on where I have eyeshadow on my eyes, right? And it's just this idea that's like, these jobs and AI taking jobs has always been this real thing. That's always been this like end all be all. At some point, there's not going to be as many jobs in the world because AI is going to take over.
Yeah.
Right. But it's this idea that the personalization is already going to start to dwindle when you see that these trades and these jobs and cosmetology is one of these things that I just keep focusing on is like, it'll be a dying profession in the movie industry.
I completely agree with you there. I completely agree. It's definitely a point where the jobs are going to be in question. Mm-hmm. And I see these things in the movies now where with these actors and actresses, and I know we were talking about this beforehand when we were making the topic for this episode, but one of these big things that AI has been able to do recently is bring actors and actresses back from the dead.
Yes.
Right? This is a big point. And if you've tuned in this far to this episode, welcome. You're going to get to the most interesting part here.
Yes.
So
the final most interesting part.
Something we've seen lately in movies, Indiana Jones just came out recently with this, and some of the Star Wars movies, is they have used AI to create scenes and create parts of the movie that use footage of actors and actresses who are either no longer or use a former form of physical appearance, a younger appearance, and use that in the movie. One such example of this is the new Indiana Jones movie with Harrison Ford. He is obviously very much aged from his original beginnings with the Indiana Jones franchise, but they were able to source hundreds of hours worth of clips from him, from years of filming and outtakes from Indiana Jones, that they were able to literally piece together a story using AI to create this crazy, just unbelievably good take of a young Harrison Ford playing the part of Indiana Jones, which I think is completely wild. And the example of someone who's not alive, like Carrie Fisher from Star Wars, she had died before the release of the movie.
Yes.
And when Star Wars, the franchise, had the newer Star Wars franchise that the younger generation is now very familiar with, like Rey and that whole thing, they were able to source, again, footage of her from previous outtakes in all the Star Wars movies they originally had filmed. What was that, back in the 70s?
Oh, yeah, way back when.
They had, they sourced all those clips of her and were able to make that just an unbelievable performance of someone who's no longer.
Yeah.
And I think it's I think it's great. I'm going to be honest. I think my take is I think it's a great thing because it's like, wow, like here's an actor who's no longer and they can't play that part, but they were able to take something they have done and breathe new life into it.
Yeah, and it's the idea of like repurposing old content, but in a way to kind of like in a nostalgia way rather than a laziness way.
Right.
And I found it really interesting when they had the Princess Leia in the new movies, or we call them new. there's been movies that have come out since then, right?
Yeah.
But those movies we're talking about, people will know what we're saying.
Yeah.
They have Carrie Fisher come back, but she's just as old as she was before she passed, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And, she's playing the part with Mark Hamill, where Mark Hamill's old.
Yeah.
He's the Luke Skywalker and all these types of things. And then you have Princess Leia and Carrie Fisher, where they're older in the movie. And obviously Mark Hamill's acting as an older man, and he's in that film. Carrie Fisher did act a little bit in that movie.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of her where she was genuine there, and then they turned her into CGI. And
Right.
they turned into AI and all these other types of things.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to me to think that they got these language models and the way that she speaks, mannerisms, these types of things from her when she was like 20.
It's crazy.
And they're putting it on her when, I don't know her age, so I won't say it, when she's old.
Right.
When she's old as heck. And she's just, walking around in her current state, but with those old mannerisms. And they're able to program
insane.
it on her.
It's insane. And there's so much that can be done with this, with actors who have passed on, who are no longer with. I mean, there's plenty of actors who have passed in recent times, who might have missed a role or weren't able to fulfill a role and they missed out. And many years ago, we go back 30 years ago, this wouldn't have been possible.
No.
They couldn't even fathom, oh my God, we can't make a whole movie or a sequence of a movie with this person. I mean, we talked about Forrest Gump before. I mean, one of the very famous uses in Forrest Gump was they were able to edit Tom Hanks into these very short snippet scenes of real footage, but with him as, meeting John F. Kennedy and meeting John Lennon and Lyndon B. Johnson, and those were real footage, but this blows it out of the water. This is hundreds and hundreds of hours worth of footage that are now at play for an AI model, an AI system to take in and now create footage for a movie. It's mind-boggling to think about that. It's not something that it has all of its benefits, and like I already said, I think it's a great thing, but it's also dangerous because what happens if we have a movie here, right? And you could do anything. We've said this before. You could do anything. You could make anyone say anything, and then it gets really dangerous.
Yeah.
Really dangerous.
That's really true, and that goes into like having to deal with the states of people and the people who have since passed and having to clear it with their families.
Right.
Anytime that Carrie Fisher's was being her like voice lines and all these things were being used, they had to go to her estate and her family and be like, "Hey, can we make her say this?"
I completely agree. I mean, you have. We're going to get into a big tangent here, but it's like you have something like YouTube. I mean, the advent of YouTube, we saw that creators were parodying a lot of existing film franchises and that kind of thing. It was a big problem because these film franchises were very angry because you have people on YouTube creating like Star Wars fan fiction and uploading these things that weren't obviously along with the real Star Wars storyline, but they felt as though they were doing their own thing. Yes. They liked the Star Wars franchise. It was a great story, and they were putting their own spin on that. Now, the technology isn't there to be like a home use kind of thing for people to really get in on this, but eventually it will. I mean, you already see people who have access to AI photo editing where you can say, "Oh, generate me a photo of X, Y, and Z," and it shits it right out for you. I mean, you could say, "Generate me a photo of a city filled with dildos," and it'll
just be like, boom, Cockville.
Right, Cockville, USA.
Yeah.
Now,
Dixon, USA.
Dixon. Yeah. Now we have this problem where you could have someone, some fat ass sitting on his computer, and he could generate footage of someone who's passed on, someone who's not even around, against the what's the word I'm thinking of here? The permission of the family. You could have a person, a very like, trying to think of an actor who's passed on here. Hit me with one real quick.
Oh, actor who's passed on. Bernie Mac,
right? Passed on. And you could have someone sitting at home and they can use an AI model, take hours of footage of this man and use it to create their own piece of media.
Yes.
And that's where it gets dangerous because once it really gets into the hands of the average consumer, that's where the falsified things start to begin. And that's where the dangerous thing, because, you could have someone like Carrie Fisher, right? And someone who's like a Star Wars fan fiction creator, and now they have access to this and they can do anything. They
can do horrible things.
Horrible things. And that's what we got to remember is not everyone's out for good.
Yes, and it also, we're not going to go into the tangent, But it's the idea of, having to put laws and like regulations on AI because
Right.
it is the open.
And that's this writer strike too.
Yes, and it's the early days of all these different things that are coming out because it's all such new technology, and it's going to take a couple exploitations of this technology in order for it to be given that real media attention for everything.
Well, no law. I mean, as many laws as they can make, there's gonna be one crazy motherfucker who just blows it all out of the water.
Understood.
It's always gonna happen. There's gonna be one crazy motherfucker who's just gonna fucking do it.
You know who it's going to be?
Who's it gonna be?
Mr. Beast is going to do some crazy shit.
Mr. Beast.
He's going to be like, I'm a social media philanthropist. Watch our last episode. And he's going to make like Carrie Fisher and fucking Mark Hamill just like, who knows?
Yeah,
Horrible
it's
things.
dangerous,
Yes,
dangerous.
yes.
So that's what people gotta watch out for.
Yeah, and it's it's a crazy world that we live in.
Unfortunately.
Obviously, we talked about how we weren't going to do many more AI episodes.
Well, this is one of these ones that we gotta cover.
You have to cover.
We have to cover because there's already videos out there. I mean, you can put someone's face on a person and make them look like they're sucking dick.
Yeah, it's that. Have you seen the things where it's like all the little Mr. Beasts? Just to go.
Oh
back
yeah,
to
the
this
little
thing,
Mr.
where it's
Beast.
like, I'm going to put a picture up here. I'm actually going to do it this time, right? And it's like the picture of like Mr. Beast's mom, and it's like this little kids. And
Right.
They all look like Mr. Beast.
It's dumb. It's so fucking dumb. But it's the very early stages of dangerous things
Yes.
beginning.
And it's showing how that's just the average consumer, right? Like George Lucas, rest in peace, isn't going to be putting, the pictures of Mr. Beast on like Skibidi Toilet or whatever
Right.
bullshit it's going to be, right? But it's the idea that if someone like me has access to that technology to be like, put this face on this person doing this, what is someone in Hollywood going to be able to do?
Oh my God.
And that's a whole other episode.
Exactly.
We were talking about that too.
We are talking about that. We
But-
are talking about that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's absolutely wild. But I mean, here at the Flipcast, we like to cover wild things.
Absolutely.
So, we'll put it out here. If you've made it to this point in this episode, this is a shorter episode because Ledger's a little bit busy today. But here's the thing.
Here's the thing.
If you want us to continue this conversation, I suggest you leave a comment
Yeah.
in this video or this Spotify listening video.
We'll have a poll on the Spotify that asks if you want to continue.
There you go. He's got it.
And put a part 2.
Yeah,
Please click yes. This is a great conversation.
Please click
But
yes.
if you hate it, we'll come up with something different.
exactly. We got a
We'll
whole.
do a deepfake episode. We got ideas,
we got
bro.
it.
We got
Conspiracy
ideas.
episodes are on the way. So, thank you for tuning in.
Yes.
We truly appreciate it. If you made it to the end, like I said, like this video,
Mm-hmm.
follow us. If you aren't following us on TikTok, Instagram, all that good stuff, please follow.
Yeah.
All of our clips go up there. We're working on doing some different stuff, having some different stuff on different platforms. It's in the very early stages of that.
Yep.
Stay tuned. It's gonna get interesting. It's gonna get good as soon as we're a little busy, so we're gonna really get on it and step on the gas and make sure we make some good things happen.
Exactly. Midterm season's over, so it's game
But
time.
we are game time on the Flipcast here. So
Buy a hat.
buy a hat,
Show them the back of the shirt.
back a shirt.
You already saw it. It's
You're the
QR code.
Flipcast. Get it. Get it. Get in
Yeah.
on it.
We will see you guys next week. Stay tuned with our short form content. And as always, see you in the next episode.
Follow Flip.
Forward flip.